The true state of union. The financial meltdown of American government. To understand government financial situation, let's first look at four basic concepts. Revenue, expenditure, deficit, and national debt. Revenue. Revenues are taxes and fees the government collected. They're called income as well. Expenditure. Expenditures are the amount of money the government paid for in a fiscal year. It is called outlay as well. Deficit. Deficit is the total amount of expenditure that exceeds the revenue. The shortfall usually has to be filled by borrowing money from other sources, such as foreign governments, individual investors, or social insurance trust funds. National debt. National debt is the total accumulation of annual budget deficit or the total debt the national government owes. In 2021, the federal government collected $4.05 trillion, which is about 18% of total U.S. gross domestic product. The main sources of the revenue include individual income tax, Social Security and Medicare payroll tax, corporate tax, etc. Expenditure. In 2021, the federal government spent $6.82 trillion. Here is a breakdown of typical government revenue and expenditure. Deficit. In 2021, the federal government overspent $2.77 trillion more than it collected, therefore, resulting in a huge annual budget deficit. National debt. Since the government has to borrow money every year to make up the shortfalls, the sum of all borrowings become the national debt. As of 2021, the total national debt has already surpassed $30 trillion, or 128% of US GDP. Who lend money to US government? The US government borrows money from American individual or institutional investors, social insurance trust funds, foreign governments. We owe China $1.1 trillion. Most of surplus money collected for the Social Security and Medicare programs are used to buy U.S. national debt. It does not simply sit there for your retirement. Why too much national debt is very bad for America? Well, just like our personal finance, if we spend beyond our means, it means we are in financial trouble. A lot of times, it could result in personal bankruptcy. The same logic applies to government finance as well. Since the borrowed money is not free, it costs a lot for the government to make the interest payment. It is projected that the interest payment will soon rise to $1.2 trillion a year. In 10 years, the US will pay $8 trillion just on interest payment alone. This will reduce investment and spending on other essential activities and services, such as research and development, building infrastructure, education, etc. Rising debt will hurt US international credit rating, erode value of US dollar, slow economic growth, and reduce business investment. It will lead to tax hikes and dramatic spending cut. Therefore, reduce people's disposable income and government's ability to perform its essential functions. When Ross Perot ran for president in 1992, his major campaign theme was to balance federal budget. He was alarmed by the $4 trillion national debt. He could have never imagined 30 years later, the U.S. national debt has surpassed $30 trillion. His call for fiscal responsibility has apparently fell on deaf ears. We are facing a total financial meltdown as a result of wars on terror, 2008 financial crisis, and a global pandemic. The crisis of national debt is much worse than the $30 trillion. The real national debt is actually much bigger than this. According to Truth in Accounting, a non-profit organization, America's debt crisis is much worse than what it appears. The unfunded Medicare promises are minus $58.1 trillion. The unfunded Social Security promises are minus $45.4 trillion. Publicly held debt is minus $22.34 trillion. Military and civilian retirement benefits are minus 10.18 trillion. Other liabilities are minus 2.25 trillion. The total real national debt is 138.27 trillion. Will America ever be able to get rid of this accumulated and future debt? Only if every taxpayer wants to pay $836,000 to get the United States government out of debt. This is simply a mission impossible. Calls for making America great again will be meaningless without creating actual fiscal responsibility and real leadership by politicians in Congress and the White House. Americans are drowning in debt that they may never be able to pay off. I hope you get the message. What would you do to help solve this national financial crisis? America's future is in your hand. Wake up. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe this channel.